Hello, good patrons of the High Ninqi Network. I hope the day has treated you well and that you have treated the day well in return. I wanted to talk to you about WETIKO, the mind virus. It has been getting talked about more and more under this label here. So, I am back in the States. Goodbye, Scotland. Hello, America. Hello, Philadelphia, where we picked up this book, fresh at Black and Nobel, or as we like to call it, Black and Noble. And this is a book by a man named Paul Levi, or Paul Levy, however he pronounces it, with a foreword by Dr. Larry Dossey, MD. Published out of Rochester, Vermont, by a company called Inner Traditions. Published using solar power, as it says. And this book supports the Hacienda RioCote.com reforestation project. So, WETIKO, Healing the Mind Virus That Plagues Our World, a Sacred Planet book by Paul Levy. I want to dedicate this book to Rena Surdkar, one of my primary teachers, whose love could fill the whole universe and then some. In addition, this work is dedicated to all of us humans. Blah, 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 blah. Alright, so I'm going to move forward here. They have a quote by Jung. Let's see. We moderns are faced with the necessity of rediscovering the life of the spirit. We must experience it anew for ourselves. It is the only way in which to break the spell that binds us. It's pretty cool. So I'll read to you the foreword and then perhaps the acknowledgements tonight, but I'd like to read you some of this. I'd like to read you the whole thing. It's 300 or so pages, 312 plus the foreword. So Dr. Larry Dossey says in the foreword, wouldn't it be chilling to learn that a mind virus was rapidly spreading throughout the world, infecting our own society and manifesting in people close to us, even in ourselves? It is a madness that has always plagued humanity, but today we are increasingly aware of it and seeing it for what it is. Some call it evil. Paul Levy calls it WETIKO. WETIKO is a successor to Dispelling WETIKO, Breaking the Curse of Evil, which Paul Levy amplified the Native American concepts of WETIKO, a seemingly malignant spirit responsible for a fearsome disease of the soul. Paul Levy expands on this indigenous understanding with his deep study of Jungian psychology and his knowledge of mythology, shamanism, and quantum physics combined with his original insights and experiences. Whether you are new to Paul Levy or have read his other writings, you are now in for a reading experience that is both fascinating and unsettling. Some forward, this is only the second paragraph. WETIKO says, Levy, is a psychological force within the unconscious mind that predisposes us towards unwholesome impulses such as the thirst for power and control, greed, and jealousy. People who are possessed by WETIKO are deeply selfish. They seldom have any interest in the well-being of others. WETIKO is a stealth factor. We rarely suspect its presence even when it affects our own behavior. WETIKO, as Levy shows, is preconfigured in psychiatrist C.G. Jung's concept of the shadow, the unsavory part of our unconscious psyche that we reject in our conscious awareness. So, just me talking to you here. The ums were for effect, and that's a shame because I would call a mind virus, a social contagion. Don't mean to say it all the time. I never like to, but I ended up adding it in probably 15 years ago into my vocabulary just because everybody else was doing it. Anyway, I had a concern after watching a video of Dr. B. Serious do his talk on WETIKO. I was like, do I have WETIKO? But just after that third paragraph by Dr. Dossi here, no, I don't have WETIKO, it's fine. Okay, so let's move forward here with Dr. Dossi's forward. Many people recoil from the idea that nice, well-behaved citizens could secretly harbor evil thoughts and impulses, but these counterforces are present to some degree in everyone. Under certain provocations, they surface readily. As I write, WETIKO is having a field day across the globe, visible in headlines and the rapidly changing current events that are evoking fear, anger, chaos, and disruption to the individual and collective life. How does this mind virus spread among us? We are learning the details about how WETIKO functions and what inhibits it. A growing body of evidence from leaders in modern science suggests that our conscious and unconscious thoughts and intentions are not confined to our individual brains and bodies. They can operate in the world out there. Distance from our individual selves beyond the limitations and constraints of the here and now, this is the domain of non-local mind. Mind that is boundless and boundaryless, infinite in space and time, and therefore connected and united with all other minds in the past, present, and future. Levy's account of how WETIKO operates through the non-local field outside the constraint of space and time represents a continuation of an articulation of a genuine non-local psychology of mind. Moreover, experiments in distant healing appear to be crucially influenced by love, compassion, and deep caring, just as healers throughout history have maintained. This is one of the greatest lessons of recent experiments. Love and compassion, operating through non-local mind, can remotely change the state of physical bodies in positive, healthful ways. But not just love, there is a dark side of consciousness, the domain of Jung's concept of the shadow. It is where WETIKO lives and operates in our lives, as Paul Levy shows. Studies in remote influence show that Studies in remote influence show that harm can be extended to living things. Microbes can be inhibited, cellular function can be retarded, cells can be killed, and the activity of biochemical reactions can be reduced. Negative non-local intentions resemble the curses, hexes, and spells in which perhaps all pre-modern cultures and many modern ones have believed. In achieving the tenebrous, wow, word I haven't seen in so long. In achieving the tenebrous side of non-local mind, these cultures demonstrate a more complex, sophisticated understanding of consciousness than do we. They accept the dark side of consciousness as simply the way things are, and they gracefully devise methods of protecting themselves. It is cultures such as our own which deny a negative, non-local factor of consciousness that often get blindsided by it, as Levy reveals. So they're saying that our culture decides to ignore this non-local negativity in consciousness, and now perhaps Levy will teach us in this book, which is a sequel to a previous book about WETIKO he's done, will give us that answer, that this foreword is giving us a question to ponder. It is Cultures such as our own, which deny a negative non-local factor of consciousness that often get blindsided by it, as Paul Levy reveals. In any case, the capacity of humans to extend harm mentally and non-locally to living things should not be rejected. Instead, this ability can be used for good, for healing, as when human intentions are used to retard or kill cancer cells or invading pathogens. Consider, if mind is genuinely non-local, this implies that individual minds cannot be completely separated and isolated from one another, and are joined in some sense even as they simultaneously experience themselves individually. In some dimension, minds that are non-local come together to form a single unitary mind. This recognition is ancient. It is also modern, as many outstanding scientists have revealed. The forward has just one more page left. Our non-local nature makes WETIKO possible. But love, caring, and compassion also stem from the same quality of consciousness. This is an example of what the physicist Niels Bohr called complementarity, the coming together of apparent opposites to produce a more accurate picture of the world. One is reminded of a maxim from the field of transpersonal psychology. In order to transcend the ego, you must first have one. Thus we can say that WETIKO is ultimately redeemed by its opposites: love, empathy, caring, and compassion. For these qualities, like WETIKO, also have non-local, infinite effects in the world. Why is it important to acknowledge the non-local negative aspects of WETIKO? Because ultimately, WETIKO is a world destroyer by virtue of its non-local, infectious nature. It spreads globally. It is unconfinable to individual minds. It has the capacity to wreck more than a single individual's life. It can destroy a species, our own. We are not helpless bystanders against WETIKO. The ultimate antidote for it is love, its complementary non-local opposite. But specific antidotes against WETIKO have taken many forms in human history. Now read the words of Paul Levy, a true student and scholar in the burgeoning field of WETIKO, who has devoted more careful thought to WETIKO than anyone I know. Let us see what his explorations have uncovered about the disease and its cure. Larry Dossey, MD, Santa Fe, New Mexico. Dr. Larry Dossey earned his medical degree from Southwestern Medical School in Dallas, then served as a battalion surgeon in Vietnam, where he was decorated for valor. He helped establish the Dallas Diagnostic Association and in 1982 was chief of staff of Medical City Dallas Hospital. Before his book Healing Words was published in 1993, only 3 U.S. medical schools had courses exploring the role of religious practice in health, compared to nearly 80 today. In Recovering the Soul, 1989, he introduced the concept of non-local mind unconfined to the brain and body. Since then, this model has been adopted by many leading scientists as an emerging image of consciousness. In 2013, he received the prestigious Visionary Award. The author of 13 books and numerous articles, Dr. Dossey is the former executive director of the peer-reviewed journal Alternative Therapies in Health and Medicine. Nice. He is currently executive director of the peer-reviewed journal Explore, the Journal of Science and Healing. Dr. Dossey has lectured all over the world, and the impact of his work has been remarkable. There's a page of acknowledgments, and then the introduction, which covers WETIKO in a nutshell, Levi's personal experience with WETIKO, the normalization of WETIKO, how he compares it to Jung, how he compares it to the Native American ideas about it, a title here: "The Sickness of Exploitation." The internal origins of WETIKO. Dreaming WETIKO. Goldsmithing. And then that's the introduction section. And then part 1 is called Spiritual Traditions and Creative Artists. With the first heading being It's All in the Psyche. And that'll get us to page 20. But that's enough for now. And let's look forward to continuing to enjoy this book from Black and Nobel.